Good day, everyone. Um, it's nice to have you guys here. I am Abib. I'm the GDLC web lead UI. With us today, we'll be having Abdulqudus Abubakre, who is a front-end developer at Satisfaction. So we'll be speaking with us about the topic progressive web applications and how we can make use of them to enhance our web development skills. So Abdulqudus, you can take over. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, all right, thank you very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Abdulqudus. I'm a front-end developer at Satisfaction. Um, so I'm just going to share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Um,
Seems good.
yes, it is
Um,
visible.
yeah, okay. So hello, everyone. Once again, my name is Abdulqudus. I am a front-end developer at Satisfaction. Today we'll be taking a look at progressive web applications, right? So just a little disclaimer, if this is just like an intro topic. We are not going to go so deep into it. It's not going to be like a technical session. So maybe if that was what you were expecting from this call, I'm sorry, but it's just like it getting started. But if you have questions, maybe after this talk, you can reach out to me and then discuss further. But basically, we're going to be dividing this talk into three different sessions. So like the what, the why, and the how. This is just so we can have like an easy understanding of where exactly the whole idea of progressive web apps is, and how we can take advantage of it. So what exactly is progressive web applications? Probably I've heard about PWAs, maybe on Twitter or maybe a meetup or anywhere really. But at the very basic level, progressive web apps are pretty much your regular websites that you probably build with HTML, CSS, React, Vue, anything really. But then, because of some configurations that you made those applications, you're able to install them like native applications on your mobile phones or your laptops, wherever. So they take advantage of um, web APIs like push notifications, like offline caching and stuff like that. That allows you to send notifications like your mobile applications do. Now, basic idea of this thing is like you're trying to bring together the best of both worlds. So you have your typical web applications, right? That has the whole search engine optimization. You can search for it on Google, and then you have your native applications that has things like app icon. You can access them offline, and then you're bringing those two things together to have like this whole progressive web application. Um, then you ask yourself, why exactly do I need to do this? I'm learning React, I'm learning Vue. Do I really need to disturb myself about progressive applications, right? I can just build my Vue applications, work, and I'm done. But one thing we need to notice, first of all, I'm going to try to relate this to Nigeria as a country. We live in a country where we don't exactly have the best of internet connectivity. I mean, they introduced Starlink, they introduced MTN 5G, but those are not exactly reliable options. Sometimes you can have outages, sometimes you can have like as low as probably like 2, 3 Mbps. And then you ask yourself, if I'm having a website, how do I want someone that has such poor connectivity to access my website? Now, that's just one of the reasons why you want to consider PWAs. This is just a little statistics that shows how many people use mobile devices to access the internet. And when you think about it, your mobile phone is probably the most used gadget. I don't know for you, but for me, my mobile phone is like the device I use the most. And when you have a mobile phone as the device you use the most, you want to make sure any websites that you're building or any web application you're building should be accessible on my mobile phone. Imagine you have a website that I can access on my mobile phone. That's like, I don't know. That's just bad. I have to like pick up my laptop or my iPad anytime I want to access your website, which is not exactly good for business, right? So this is like just a little stat showing you about 55% of internet traffic comes from mobile users, Not just that, it also shows you how much of these internet users are mobile phone users. So like you have this little graph here that shows you almost 93% of internet users use their mobile phones. And it's not just that, right? Another thing, another reason why you want to consider PWA is the speed. Now, like I mentioned before, we have issues with internet connectivity. With PWAs, one thing we have and one thing we can be guaranteed that is we're able to use these PWAs, these progressive web applications offline. So you don't have to always enter your browser and type in something like www.google.com or facebook.com before you can access it. Without even having internet, you can just open up the app on your phone, just like a native mobile application, or even on your laptop or on your iPad. Open it up and it's going to load up without having to connect to the internet. Now, this is because of something called the service worker, which we'll get to shortly. But that allows you to store, some part of the application in your cache, so you don't always have to make a call to the API or to whatever server you have hosted somewhere. You can just access the cache, get what you need, and then maybe if there are any updates, you can fetch them from the API. Now, another reason why you want to consider PWA is low cost of development. Now, take for example, you are a small business and you're trying to come up with a startup, and maybe you are like just three or four in development team. One is a DevOps engineer, one is a designer, and then there's you that is a web developer. And then you're trying to build something, build like a mobile app, and then you don't have that money to hire a mobile developer. That's where PWA can come in. You don't necessarily need to start learning maybe Flutter or Swift, Android, whatever it is you want to learn before you can come up with something that looks like a native mobile application. With PWAs, you can build your website the way you know how to, and then convert it into something that you can use like a native mobile application. And not just that, you can also use it on your laptop, your iPads, as long as the device has a browser, it's most probably going to support the PWA, so you can use it natively on that device. Some other reasons why you would also want to consider PWAs are discoverability. So unlike mobile applications where if you wanted to search for it, you have to go to your app store or your Google Play Store and then search for the app. Because a PWA is pretty much a website, you can search for it online the way you search for that website. You can go to Google, search for it, and it's going to come up. Another thing is the cross-platform support. Like I mentioned earlier, you can install it on your Android phone, your iPhone, your web app, your laptops, iPads, anything really. Um, Now that's just like reasons why you would want to consider PWs and why you want to learn about them. Now, moving on to probably one of the most important aspects of PWAs is how exactly can you make your website a PWA. The first thing and the most important thing is you need to have a website set up. So you can't have a PWA if you don't have a website, right? So you need to make sure you build your website, maybe with your React, whatever it is you want to use, really doesn't matter. And then you have these three major components. You have the service worker, you have the manifest of JSON, and you have the HTTPS. The service worker is probably like um, one of the most important, if not the most important, because it's like the brain behind the PWS. It's the one that controls everything that happens behind the scenes. Now, what exactly is it? It's just a simple JavaScript file that runs in the background that allows you to control how your website stores things in the cache, how it makes sends push notifications to the user, how it fetches data from the API. Unlike your typical web application where when you enter sites in your browser and then the browser makes a call to the API, with your service worker, it's kind of like a middleman, a man behind the scenes. So you make a call, it makes the call to the service worker, and the service worker checks the cache first and says, okay, this person is looking for an image. Do I have that image in the cache first? Then if it sees that image is in the cache, it doesn't exactly need to make a call to the API anymore. It just fetches data from the cache and sends to the user. So that way you can easily see how well you can access this PW without having internet, right? And if you can also consider the service, configure the service worker in such a way that even though this data exists in the cache, can also give the user what's in the cache and then also make an API call to the server such that you get the old data in the cache, but I'm also trying to look for updates that if there's any, you also get the result of it. Now, this is for people with internet. connectivity. Of course, if you don't have internet connectivity, it just gets you what's in the cache, and then you're good to go. Now, like I said, it also has things like push notifications. So maybe you're on your phone, there's an update, it's sent to the update, and all of this happens in the background. So your typical web application, when you're making calls to APIs, it kind of blocks the flow of the application. But you have to wait until all of this data is loaded. Or your service worker happens in the background, so you don't even have to stress yourself waiting for the application to load. Um, Another thing that we also have to consider is HTTPS. Now, because of how much work, how much information that goes on in the service worker, all of this cannot happen on an unsecure server. So you need to make sure your application is hosted on a HTTPS on a secured server. So maybe if you are testing or playing around, some options you could consider things like Netlify, GitHub pages as well is also an option to host your application, and then you can test around because they give you HTTPS a secure server so you can host them. But if you don't have HTTPS, you won't be able to set up PWAs. And now the last component of a PWA is the manifest.json. Now this is like a configuration file. The way this works is it allows you to define things or ways you want your application to look like. So things like your app icon, your background color, the name that you want it to display on your mobile phone, where it must be full screen and all of that. You basically have all of that configuration and then you can define how you want it to be. Now, sometimes it's usually difficult to be able to define some of these things like the icons as well because you don't know what size icon maybe an iPhone uses, what an Android uses, or what this particular Android version uses, right? So there are some websites that allows you to easily generate a manifest that just all you need to do is enter your app icon and then generate all of that for you and returns a manifest JSON to you. But basically, those are like the three major things, three major components of a PWA. You have the service worker, you have the manifest JSON, and then you have the HTTPS. So once you have all of this configured, most times when you go to a website that has all of this configured, you would see this option that tells you add so size to home screen. That shows you that this website is a progressive web app, and then you can install it on your device. Now, there are some things to note when you are trying to do the progressive web application. The first one, probably also the most important thing, is responsiveness. Because you're going to install progressive web apps potentially on mobile devices, on laptops, on iPads, you need to make sure they work well on all of these devices. Imagine you have a progressive web app that is not exactly responsive on my phone, and then I try to space it on my phone and it says add to home screen. And then I add it and I have to turn my phone landscape for me to be able to see some portion of the website. Now, that doesn't exactly work. So for your site to be a very good progressive web app, it needs to be responsive across all devices so that I'm able to install it without having to worry about the responsiveness. The second one is accessibility. Probably one that is not given as much attention because it's easy to ignore accessibility. But when you are building progressive web applications, you need to make sure it's accessible. So if what I have with me now is just a mouse, I should be able to use the mouse to access the website. If I have just a keyboard, I should be able to use the keyboard. Or even touch gestures. There are sometimes when you have maybe you're building something in JavaScript and the only thing you have is like a click event listener, but then the click event listener doesn't work on my phone because I don't have a mouse. I have to touch. Some of those things you need to consider them when you are building a progressive web app. Another thing is, some things like the color, the types of colors you use, the color contrast, and all of that. You want to make sure you don't use something like a yellow on a red background. All of those things, those are some of those things you need to consider when you're doing a progressive web application. And the last thing, though, there are more than this, but the last thing I have on this list is providing a custom offline page. Because progressive web applications are offline first, so they don't exactly always make a call to the API. You want to make sure when there's no data at all and when the user doesn't have anything to see, you don't just show them that that screen, that error screen you get on Chrome, that dinosaur gaming screen. You don't want to show them that. You want to build like an offline page that makes the user feels like, oh, I am in an application and okay, there's no data at the moment, there's no internet at the moment, so I cannot connect, I cannot see some of these updates that are in the app. So you want to make sure you have an offline screen. Now, these are just some things to note. There are more than this, but at the end of this slide, I have like some resources that you can go through to figure out, ways to learn and ways to get better at building flexible applications. So I think that's it for me. I try to keep this as short as possible, just in case people have questions and any clarifications that you want, and so we can make that. But yeah, that's it for me. If there are any questions, I think you can put them in the chat, or if maybe on your mic to ask them. Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much. That's it from my end.
Thank you very much, Abdulqudus. I think that was a very quick session, and yeah. So, please, if you do have any questions, kindly unmute your mic and to come. Thank you. Okay. So anyone with any question regarding anything like you need to know about progressive web applications, you can ask your questions. So on my side, I think it's actually very easy stuff because as you have said, the requirement for you to have a progressive web application is your website. So without having a website, you can't have a progressive web application. And then the benefit of the progressive web applications that you did make mention of is that probably you have a very low budget or you have a very small development team and you can't afford those costs. So having a progressive web application might be a good fit for that at the moment. And the three major files that you need for a progressive web application are the service worker. Um, your website should be hosted on an HTTPS, and then your manifest.json file, which would hold the configuration for different things about your application, probably the icon, the what's it called, the either portrait or landscape, forgetting that, um, the name of the application, the icon for it, and some other configurations about your application. Yeah. I think on the chat section we have two questions. So when would we be having the practical session? We actually did not make any plans for the practical session. But Abdul Kudus, do you have any thing for us regarding that?
I could probably just share like some resources that you can go through in case you want to like dive deeper and get your hands dirty on some things and probably build your first forgettable applications. I think some of the links are in the slides. I shared the link to you, so you can just probably share with the community as well. So,
All right. So I would get the resources, and for those that are registered through the link, I would send a follow-up response and include the resources to both the session recording as well as the slide, a link to the slide, and the different resources that I'll be getting from Abubakar. I think there's another question on the chat section. It says, any trade-off for choosing PWAs over native applications?
yes. So one thing you need to notice is that a PWA is basically a website, and eventually it's still going to be used on the browser, even though PWA is done with a twist. So when you're native mobile applications, you have access to quite a number of things. So things like your call logs, things that are native to the applications, things that are inbuilt. For example, your Android phones, you can do things like send text messages or read your text messages, right? You can't do that with a PWA because it's pretty much a website. Things like saving things to your phone, reading things from your storage, all of that, you don't have access to that. Um, so it's kind of like it's a website in the end, right? It's not a mobile application. But the good thing about it is that you have the ability to build your website with just one code base and use it across different platforms. But then again, you need to understand that it's not exactly native app. So there are things that native applications can do that web applications might not be able to do. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that, Abubakre. There's another question here on the chat section. Um, is there any front-end development group or platform we can join for mentorship or guidance in order to build our portfolio? Um,
Um, I don't know. You can just maybe reach out to Habib. I think Habib, you guys should have like a community.
of course, we do have a
Yeah,
community. So,
GDSC.
Adebanjo, are you on the GDSC UI group? So I think that's where I should start my question from. Okay. Um, maybe I'll. All right. So if you're on the GDSC UI group, are you on the GDSC what's it called? The web development group also. So pending the response. Okay, yeah. So just send a message on the group and I would add you to it, or just check on the community. You know, WhatsApp has this community feature. So like there's there are list of different sections of the group of the community. Check through that and you see the one for the web. You can request access and you'll be added to the group. There's another question
Yeah.
I would like to ask Abu Kudus. Um,
Oh,
so
yeah, sorry. Let me just add some things to what to Adibanjo's question. So another thing you need to know is it is not just about being in some of these communities. You also have to make sure you participate. So if you have questions, don't be afraid to ask. Most times, people are willing to answer your questions. So if you have questions, ask. When people ask questions and you feel you know the answer to them as well, just try to respond to them. That way you are showing people that, oh, I have experience with this topic, and maybe if someone is willing to mentor you or to refer you for maybe some jobs or something, they can reach out to you. So yeah, I just try to be active in some of these communities.
all right. Thank you for the addition. So my question: how does the use of progressive web applications affect search engine optimization? And also, what are some techniques that we can make use of for optimizing PWAs for search engines?
Okay, so bringing back to what I mentioned before, that a progressive application is just like your typical web application. So you are building your web application from scratch. So imagine using your React or your application. You add pretty much what you're going to add to a typical web application. So your title, your description, and all of that, to make it visible to your SEOs. Now, there are several techniques. I mean, to do for your search engine optimizations. There is like there's this description thing that you add, these meta tags that search engine optimization search engine crawlers, I think they call them, try to go through your web application to get these keywords. And when people search for those keywords, it tries to bring out your website. Now, if you have done that, right, pretty much it's going to reflect in PWA. So you don't have to do any special configurations for your potential applications. Once you already have that on your website, then that's it's good to go. If people search for anything or any keyword that you have in your application, the search engine is going to show that to the user, and then user can click on it to your site, try to go through it, and then it shows them the option to uh, save that as an application. I think one popular Nigerian site that is a PW, I think, should be Conga.com. So if you go to Conga.com on your phone, you just try to scroll a bit. It should show you the option to add it as a PW. I'm not sure, but yeah. So we have this is like an option for the desktop or your mobile phone. You see like a pop up in the screen. So if I click on this, it's going to install Conga for me as a PW, and now I have this. Oh, I have to share. Now I have like a different application that looks like Conga. Let me just share that part of the screen. Implement. Yes. So this was what I just installed. So we have this. This was Conga's website that I just installed, and now it looks like a different application entirely, right? It even has the Conga icon below. And it was just a website that I just clicked on to save, and I can click on it, do different things like it's a separate application. Now you can save this on your phone and you're going to see the icon as well, save like mobile application. So that's pretty much how PWA works. It makes it look like it's not a website, like it's a native application, but eventually it's still just a website in the end. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Abdulqudus, for that. Yeah. So basically that's all. I'm not sure anyone else has a question to ask. Um, so with that, would be calling it a day. Thank you very much, Abdulqudus, for having you here and helping us with some introductory fundamentals regarding progressive applications. Thank you very much.
Yep. Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you very
And
much.
to everyone that also joined the
Yeah.
call, thank you very much. Regarding the slides, they will be shared together with the recording for the session as well. Yeah. So that's all for today. Bye.